Hello YouTube, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Today we're going to take a look at my lessons on group policy. I haven't made videos in a while because I've been doing every week Microsoft training for free. It's starting to really kick off. It's really starting to build my channel and our Facebook page. By the way, check us out on Facebook, Sysadmin Syndicate. We also got a website coming up that I've been building. It's going to have a forums, a blog, a way that people can see my videos in Pakistan because they block YouTube. And it's also going to be able to be a place where you guys can volunteer to kind of help us help others learn Microsoft. So in this lesson, we really covered group policy really deeply. We really went into the ins and the outs of it, and we even showed you guys how to make a group policy that actually controls the wallpaper on everyone's computer. All right, guys, let's take a look at this lesson on group policy.
We're now recording this session, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at actually making a GPO and applying it to do something. So the way that I like to do GPOs is I like to link them up to the top. Create a GPO in this domain and link it here. So if I create a GPO and I call it, maybe we're going to make a GPO for wallpaper. And it's one of those things, like running through a group policy is kind of like running through the registry. You're not going to know where everything is right away. So it's, you know, you kind of search through it to find what you're looking for. So let's say I make that GPO. It's now called wallpaper. So now it's not going to do anything, like I said, until we go do something with it. However, with that being said, we don't want to leave it like that, because if it's going to be like that, it's going to say, I want it to go through the whole domain, so everything in my domain, and I want it to be working on authenticated users. Now, authenticated users means authenticated users and computers. So we don't want it to just apply to anybody. We probably want to pick a group that this is going to go to, or we might want it to be for everybody in the company, but I probably wouldn't leave it like this because it's inflexible later. Always create a security group for something, whether it's a drive map, whether it's whether it's a printer, or whether it's giving everybody local admin so they're able to control things on their own computer. Yeah, I can record it for sure. I'm recording it right now, and I'll upload it after. Looks like Axim just joined from Pakistan. Hello, Axim. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this thing do something. We're going to make it actually control, no problem. We're going to make sure it actually controls the wallpaper. So let's take out authenticated users and let's add a security group there. But we have to make the security group in order to apply attributes to it. So the first thing that we're going to do with group policy here is, now that we've created this GPO by going up here and right-clicking, create a GPO and link it here. Now we have this perfect GPO that's ready to go. What we need to do next is we need to make it do something. So we're going to take the GPO for the wallpaper, and we're going to notice that it's on authenticated users. And I am repeating things a lot because I'm trying to go really slow. So the next thing we're going to do is create that security group. So over here, we're going to move away from group policy just for a minute before we come back. And we're going to create, let's see here, we're going to create a security group. So we're going to probably want to put it in an OU. Now, I've gone and made all these organizational units, or OUs as they're called, ahead of time. So I have one for everything, just because you want to be organized. You don't just want to use the default OUs. And there's also different group policies and commands you can use to control where computers go when they're created, when computer accounts are created, when user accounts are created. So what we're going to do now is create that group. So we're going to go new security group. And you probably would never, ever actually make a security group called wallpaper. But for this lesson, that's what we're going to do. You'd probably have like a general policy that would have wallpaper in it and a few other things. So having like a group policy that controls all the wallpaper in the company might be advantageous. It might be something your company asks you to do. Because let's say if there's like a company logo or there's any kind of insignia that they want on everyone's desktop, they might ask you to do this, and lots of places will. So we're going to say wallpaper. So we're going to make the wallpaper group, and you could also look at group scope, which is more of a thing of understanding Active Directory. So you can have a domain local, a global, or a universal group. This is basically it's the scope of which you're enforcing it. Is this going to be universal everywhere in my entire forest? Is it just going to be within my domain, or is it just going to be, So this is not really important for this lesson. It's a very advanced Active Directory topic. But the other thing to talk about is group type. So there's security and distribution groups. A security group is basically a group they're also sometimes called security principles. So if you have like a security principle, like a security group, you can have the ability to apply settings to different things. You can secure things. You can make sure that they're called security groups when we're talking about adding drives or adding printers, because we want to securely add those drives. We want to securely add those printers. We don't want everybody to be able to print checks from the check printer, We don't want everybody to go up and be able to print huge copies from a huge plotter that uses a lot of paper and ink, or maybe a really expensive type of ink. So there's lots of reasons why you'd want to control the security of these groups, and that's why they're called security groups, because not just anybody has access to these network drives that might have finance data, might have lots of things. So anyway, we're going to create a security group. Now, a distribution group is for email. Basically, a distribution group is like, let's say if we all worked at a company called Sysadmin Syndicate, and I wanted to send an email out to the entire company. I would go into my email and type all Sysadmin Syndicate, or all Victoria Techs, or all Chicago Techs, or all New York Techs, and it would send an email to everybody. That's a distribution group, but that's not for this lesson. So we're just going to create a group here. So the group has been created, called Wallpaper. Now, like I said, we're not going to spend a lot of time in Active Directory, but we're going to go back over to Group Policy Management, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove authenticated users. And we're going to add that security group we made. Does that make sense? Let me know if you guys want me to show you guys that, because that's the first step, is understanding how to apply these policies before we go and edit them. Before we go and create the script, we want to make sure it's going to target the right people. So this is not a script, but it's like scripting and what it can do. So now that we've done that, we're going to go actually do the fun stuff. We're actually going to go bake this policy. But before I do, I'm kind of jumping the gun. Yeah, I can maximize it. So if we go and take a look at this area right here, we've got 4 tabs. We've got scope, details, settings, and delegation. No problem. So scope is basically who's it applying to? Who does this affect? Well, it affects everybody in the domain who's a member of this group. If I would have left it authenticated users, it would be everybody in the domain, everybody. So everybody in the domain, everybody in this group. Now, if I would have created the OU down here under member servers, create an OU, link it here, it would only affect things that are in this OU that match the security filtering. So there's kind of 2 ways that you can apply these GPOs. It is very awesome. It can give you a lot of control. So let's take a look at our policy again. We've got this policy set to only affect people in that group. Now let's jump one more time back over to Active Directory, because this is still not going to affect anybody, because nobody's a member of that group. So now what we want to do is we want to think about this. If we want to later add users or computers to this group, or to this GPO, all we have to do is add people to this group. Once we make the GPO do something, all we have to do is add people to this group. So if we open it up, we right-click the group. And we've got member and member of. So we want to add some members to this group. So we'd probably want to add like a whole bunch of users. So you'd add your users into here. I'm not going to add any, but you could come into here and add your users. And if you can't add certain things that you want to add, like maybe you can't add computers, you want to change the object type. But again, this isn't much of an Active Directory lesson. So you'd add people to that group if you would want them to be part of it. So this is some complicated stuff, but once you get it down, it's not at all. So once we've done that, we're actually going to go make the policy. Oh, sorry. I want to explain the other tabs. I keep jumping the gun because making the policy is the fun part, right? So what we want to do is we want to take a look at the scope tab. We've gone through that. The other thing I didn't talk about is WMI filtering. You can make it with your WMI filtering apply to laptops or computers, but now with item level targeting, you don't have to do that anymore. So the next tab is the details tab. If you want, you can go ahead and change the GPO status to computer settings, computer configuration settings disabled, or user configuration settings disabled. If you do that, what it'll do is it'll kind of speed up the process in which the GPOs apply, because it doesn't have to read over the computer half if it's not using computer. It's using the user half of a group policy. And I'll show you what I'm talking about later when we go and make the policy. So settings is just a way that you can come in here and see if there's any settings defined. It says no settings are defined, so again, this group policy will not do anything. The next tab to take a look at is delegation. So delegation is basically a way that you can make it so it doesn't apply to, say, the domain admin or the enterprise admin. So let's say if you're having problems with the group policy, you're not able to make it meet your demands. You need to add it to this group, but you don't want it to affect the domain admins. This is where you'd come in here and edit that. So those are your 4 tabs: scope, details, settings, delegation. So you want to get this running in a virtual machine, guys, and play with it. You'll want to install Active Directory, open up group policy, and do this. So now we're going to do the fun part, finally, which is making the policy. We're going to open, now keep in mind, we're in something called Group Policy Management. So if we take a look here, the window here is Group Policy Management. Next, we're going to open up what's called the Group Policy Management Editor. So if we right-click our policy and we click Edit, it'll open the editor. So when we look at our group policy, we have computer configuration and we have user configuration. So as I've said before in previous lessons about group policy, you can't apply the same things to a computer that you can apply to a user. You can tell your best friend, to meet you downtown or to meet you across town, but you can't tell your friend, to become an umbrella, right? It's the same kind of thing. You can't tell a user account to do the same thing as a computer account. So a good example of that is scripts. There's something called logon scripts and there's something called startup scripts. Startup scripts happen when the computer starts. Logon scripts happen when the computer logs on, the user logs on. So you can't use startup scripts on a user. You can't use logon scripts on a computer. It has, not everything will apply, but for the most part, when you come into group policy, we'll expand the policies of both. You're going to notice pretty much the same settings. But when you get down to it, you're not going to see the same settings inside. It's going to be a little bit different. So as you see here, we'll open up Windows settings. It almost exactly matches, but not quite, right? So you want to make sure you understand that. Is that, you're not going to be able to have the same settings in both. So certain group policies too that you'll go and configure use what's called ADM files, which are 2003. 2003's version of group policy files are called ADM files, and they were token-based group policies. Now they use an XML-based group policy called ADMX files. ADMX files. My server's restarting. Give me a moment here. That's a unfortunate bug about Windows Server. Windows Server 2012 will reboot on you guys right in the middle. If you keep ignoring the updates, it's one of the things I gotta fix on my Active Directory server. But you know what? We can probably jump over to my other server because it's probably ready. Now this is a real server. The other one's just a high performance desktop that I use. Can everyone still hear me? Because right now my DNS server is restarting. It shouldn't interrupt my connection because I'm not reconnecting to anything, but... Okay. So here's my real server. This thing's quite a beast. That's why I call it beast. It doesn't have a lot of disk space though. Mostly because I do a lot of virtualization stuff on it. But let's take a look what's under the hood here. We'll actually want to go back over to the other server in a minute because we're working with that wallpaper. But this guy here is an Intel Xeon, 2 processors in each server, 3 gigahertz, and they're each dual core, hyper-threaded. So if we open up security settings, there's a lot of stuff in there. So I'm going to open that up. You can see there's a lot of different policies. So we're talking about ADM and ADMX files. So certain policies won't apply to certain computers if they're not 2008 or they're not 2003. So most things that are for 2003 will work with 2008. But you want to make sure you understand that some policies don't work for certain versions of Windows. ADM are usually the older 2003 Windows XP stuff. If we're talking about ADMX, it's 2008 Vista and higher. So everything pretty much uses ADMX now, but you will find some things that do not. So I want to see here if I can find an example of, let's see. Some of these group policies, for instance, and if you go into Windows components, there's so many that you can apply. File history, there's File Explorer, you can control Windows updates, you control pretty much anything. Smart cards, different things like that. And if you look at the policies, they'll actually say in them usually what they're for. And this one says at least Windows Server 2008 R2 or Windows 7. So you cannot use this policy. You know, if you want to use it on XP, it's just not going to happen. So, you know, if you're thinking about group policy, you want to make sure you understand that you have to check if these policies are compatible with your current infrastructure. Most will be, but you just got to make sure of that, especially if you're troubleshooting a problem. So we're just going to go see if the other server's back up because we have to finish with that wallpaper GPO that we made, or it's going to just be confusing and stupid. So we'll see if my other 8-core server, this is an AMD 8150 CPU. It's just a desktop CPU, a nice one, like a nice AMD one anyway. But it's all I kind of want running 24/7 in my house because I have to pay for it. So this other server that I'm using, the Beast one, that's a really nice server for studying things because it's got lots of network cards and stuff like that. But that's all it's good for. So here we are back. We're going to open up group policy again. We're going to go take a look at our wallpaper GPO that we made. And we can see our wallpaper is here. We're going to go edit, right click it, and select edit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back in and try to configure it. So I don't remember, because I don't normally do wallpaper, but I don't remember where this policy is. So we've got to kind of dig through it and find it. And this is very normal practice. You know, I know group policy pretty well. Like most of the main policies I know by heart where they are. But some of them I don't touch ever. Like wallpaper. So I'd have to come in here and look. Wallpaper might be under administrative templates, Windows components. Let's see. So it's under administrative templates like I thought. Let's see here. So we're going to open it back up. And what we're going to do, desktop, Windows Manager. Just got to find it here. Here we are. So it's under user configuration. And we're going to go under administrative templates. So we're just going to collapse all this stuff so it's easy to see. Oops. And it's under desktop, and then desktop, and then desktop wallpaper. Oh yeah, I see he wrote it at the same time. So desktop wallpaper, we can go here, edit it. You can also use different things like, what was that thing called? There's actually an app called BG update or something like that, background update, and it allows you to show like your name of your computer, the IP address, and everything on the actual desktop wallpaper. So right here we would just go enabled, and we'd point it to a path. It looks like it's talking about using a local path or a UNC path. So UNC path is basically a server path, // and then the name of the server, / the name of the folder, etc. So you could also decide if you want to do a center, a fill, a fit. So if we wanted, we could go and probably take a look at doing this. I actually do have wallpapers that I use. But I don't know if I want to apply a wallpaper that controls all my wallpaper in my house. But if I wanted to, I actually have a map network drive just for wallpapers. As you can see, I use group policy heavily to map all my network drives. It's awesome. So next we're going to go in and take a look at my wallpapers. I just have lots of nice wallpapers. Anyway, I'm sure you guys didn't want to see my wallpapers. You wanted to see server stuff. So back on over. We would want to enable this setting, and it says right here, at least Windows 2000. So that's important. Make sure you check that off. And then what you're going to want to do is also have the path to your wallpaper. So in my case, where my wallpapers are on a server called Earth. So if I wanted to get the exact path to the server, this is usually what I do. There's more ways to do this, but this is usually what I do. And I just type the name of the server, and you should be able to see all the shares that are shared out on that printer, or on that computer, including the printer. So what we're going to want to do now is, I know it's in my downloads and the walls. So you would then go, okay, this is where I want it. Boom, take that path, copy it. I like to use UNC paths. I find they're more reliable. And then, but you can use a local path, it says. And then you'd put that in there. But that wouldn't fully do it. You'd need to make sure you had the file name. So then you'd go back. You'd say, okay, I want this wallpaper. I guess we might as well do it, eh? I mean, I'm halfway there as it is. So let's rename this. We're not actually going to rename it. We're just going to copy the name. I copy and paste everything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here, and we're going to go like this. We're going to go / again, and then the name of the file. Now, I probably want to rename that file, actually, because it's a really long name, and I don't know how well it's going to handle all the different like underscores and stuff. So let's just call it 1. So we're going to say 1.jpg in the walls folder. So we'll take all that back, and we'll just go like this. 1.jpg. Apply. Enabled. And I want it to fill, I think. Now let's go back over. Now we've made this policy now. It's going to apply to the user settings. Let's see if I can make it apply to somebody with this group. So let's see if we can get myself to have that wallpaper when we log in. Let's see here. Let's go into the wallpaper group, and we're going to add, I guess, myself. Well, which account am I using to log in? Root, I think. Oh, I'm in with the Sysadmin account. Huh. Let's take a look here. I didn't know I was using that account. That's strange. I'll show you guys a cool command. I don't know if it works with PowerShell, but lots of commands do. So, who am I? Yeah, I'm logged in as root. So what we're gonna want to do, I don't know why that's, I must be on glue. So if you type who am I, it'll show you who's logged in. So what I'm gonna do next is apply that group policy, or apply myself to that group, and that'll give me the policy. So we're gonna go root, and we're gonna add root to here. And it's actually not root, it's R00T. Root account. So now we should have that setting applied. Now it might not apply the first time, and I'll show you if it doesn't apply, that's actually kind of good because it'll show you guys, it'll segue into my next lesson about how to troubleshoot group policy. So we're going to close all this down. This is just Windows Server, it's not 2012. So we're going to sign out. Then we're going to go back in. Oh, see, it took place. So you can see now that my wallpaper has been changed to that picture we made. Isn't that cool? We totally have that nice paper of space. Gotta love that, eh? Now, what would you do if it didn't show up? How would you know that your policy applied? What if you're unsure? What if it's like a QoS policy and you're controlling like the network speed and you're unsure if it's going to apply? How do you know that your policy has gone down? Can everyone see that, by the way? You guys still there? No, this is permanent. This is a policy now. No, this is permanent. If the policy didn't apply, then you'd use GP update / force, but it did apply, and you know it can apply by typing in this command. Before I type in commands, can I make this bigger for you guys? Let's see. Font. Let's see here. Oops. What we're gonna do, and God, that looks goofy. So if we wanted to tell if it applied, we'd go GP result / R. And so GP result / R is going to give us a report. That's what the / R does. So it's going to give us this nice report. And you can see here that it's also going to tell you security groups, and it's going to tell you the group policies that applied. So you can see that all these things applied, all these different group policies applied. The wallpaper applied. So you can kind of see that, and you can also see what groups he's a member of. Part of the following security groups with that command. So that's a really nice command to know. GP result / R. And if you guys wanted to, I'm pretty sure this will work. You could also do this. And what this should do is it should create a file called test.txt. So if I go test.txt, it'll, oops, that doesn't matter. I'll just go grab it from where it is. C user root. Oh, there we go. Here's the file. So this file I just made, basically, is going to have all the different stuff with the GP update that we just did. So if you wanted to see like what had been applied here, you could come into here and actually read this. Font's huge. Yeah, ideally I like to use PowerShell. Yeah. because most command line commands work in PowerShell, but some kind of don't, and I think that's why I was getting some errors. But it was weird because I went to the user folder and I couldn't find. Yeah, so basically what I did was I made a text file of the GP result command. So if you guys wanted to, like, you know, run the command and then check it later, you guys could do that. So that's how you would tell if your policy was applied. What would you do if it wasn't applying, though? Well, one of our students brought up the GP update force command. So that's right. So if you do GP update /force, you got to use the force loop, and what'll happen is it'll go and it'll apply GP. Oops, I wrote gup update. GP update. What the hell? You can also open command line from here. So what it's going to do is it's going to update the two policies, the user settings policy, and it's going to update the computer setting policy. If it has to update anything in the user policy that hasn't been updated yet, it'll usually ask you to log off like it is asking me to now. So you're just going to go ahead and you're going to click yes, because it says certain user policies are enabled that can only be run during logon, just like I was saying. So we're going to click yes, go ahead and log me off the server, and then we're going to log back on. Loads right up, boom, done. So that's how it works, and there's nothing really to it. Group policy is great, it's flexible, it's powerful, it can do anything. It can map drives, it can map computers, and if it can't do something, then you don't know how to script. Because you can push scripts out, right? And you can go in and script things. So if you have a script that does exactly what you want it to do, you can push it out with group policy. Nobody should be using net logon folders anymore. Nobody should be doing group policy scripts that way. If you're going to script, that's fine. If you can't find a policy that does what you want it to do and you know how to script, that's great. That's a great skill to have. But do it with group policy because it's so much easier to manage. I mean, I don't have to worry about managing, you know, how am I going to pull in my data from my CSV or my Excel sheet? How am I going to pull in all my user accounts? Did people do the Excel sheet differently? Is the username field in a different field? You know, you have to edit your script, or you have to add users and computers to your script. So no matter what, using group policy is going to be faster, because if you go and create your own like proper custom Windows 7 or Windows 8 ISOs, you can make them configured to join the domain when the guy installs the key. So you give it to your junior field tech. He goes out, he installs Windows Server, or he installs, maybe it's Windows Server, maybe it's just Windows 8 into a computer. And after he's done, it's already on the domain. So all he has to do at that point, the admin has to do at that point, is add the computer to the group or add the user to the group, because it's already taken care of for him. He just has to add people to these groups with a GUI. You can theoretically, because of the way Active Directory is set up, you can cast this over theoretically millions of users or computers, all with a click of a button. You know, you just nest your groups into other groups. Some other things to point out are things like group nesting. If we switch back over to sharing my screen, you can also nest groups within groups. So when we talk about like doing our Active Directory, this is a little bit more advanced, or not our Active Directory, but our group policy, which is a part of Active Directory, really. We can look at some cool things that I like to do. So, do you guys want to see the coolest group policy first? This is folder redirection. If you've never seen this before, it's pretty darn awesome. If I go into my documents folder, my documents folder is actually not my documents. If you look here, it looks like it's my documents, but it's actually going back to my server. So any computer I log into, all my documents, my desktop, and my pictures get redirected to my server. So any computer I log into, I have the same stuff. So I always have my files. I never lose them. That's why I have this gigantic document folder, is because it just fills up. And, you know, I only redirect the things that I think are safe to redirect. I don't want like my downloads being redirected, but if you want, you can redirect that too. So if you look at some of my folder redirection policies, let's see here, and I'll show you about the nesting in a minute, because I just wanted to show you this. This is really cool. If you go into here and you look under the policies, folder redirection, I think it's under users, but hold on. Yeah, it's under users, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, folder redirection. So if you come into here and you edit folder redirection, you have to do it for, you get to choose what folders you want to redirect. So you could do save game searches, links, downloads, contacts, favorites, videos, music, pictures, documents, start menu, desktop, app data roaming. I don't suggest you do app data roaming. Everything else is good to go. Just because I've had errors with applications after I've set that one up. But I do desktop, so let's check out desktop. I want that to redirect. So you'd come into here and you'd pick like basic redirection for everyone. But you can also do some quite exotic things with advanced. You can actually choose where you want it to go and how you want the folder structure to go. But basically you just pipe it to the location you want with a UNC path. And then I just leave everything default. But folder redirection is a great technology. You might have heard of roaming profiles. I hate roaming profiles. Roaming profiles are just the idea that you come into a user account and I'll show you. So roaming profiles, I don't like them because if you use roaming profiles, they really slow down the computer. They take like 10 to 20 minutes to log on after you've gone and done this. So if you go and you look at like this is okay, so if we go right here, and we go to the profile tab, if you put anything under here for their profile, like you could be like earth/user profile or whatever your server name is, and then, your user profile folders, that's going to give them a roaming profile. And it's nice because, in some sense, because you don't have to worry about anything. After you've done that, everybody's stuff is going to be redirected to the server. So no matter where they log in, they'll have their stuff. And it also takes care of printers, i.e. Internet Explorer favorites. I know we don't like Internet Explorer, but everybody does in the job industry. So, that's a big thing to make sure their favorites come with them. So they're nice because they take care of everything. Folder redirection, however, only does your folders. So if you're going to use folder redirection, not roaming profiles, you have to have other policies for your drive maps and your IE settings and different stuff like that. But it's better because I hate roaming profiles for two reasons. Because number one, if you do roaming profiles, guys, it takes them 10 to 20 minutes to log on and they think their computers are slow. We had people with i5 desktops with solid states and they thought their computers were slow because they had folder redirection. Or not folder redirection, roaming profiles. Folder redirection doesn't have this problem because it just redirects your documents and stuff like that. It does not take care of everything, and it doesn't sync. So like with a roaming profile, each computer you log into has to sync up with the local computer. Folder redirection just says, no, my documents and my pictures are here. When I go to my documents, I want it to look like I'm in my documents, but actually I'm looking at the server. And then you can get into things like offline caching. So if you're not in the office, you can come in and you can turn offline caching on for certain folders. I have that on for my home folder here. So this folder here, you can come in here and you can click always available offline. I don't do that with my desktop, but I do it with my laptop. So my home folder is my documents, my desktop, and my pictures. So this is a very advanced policy I've done. And what it does is it allows me, so like if I take my laptop with me, it syncs up all the time. And it doesn't slow things down though. It's very nice. It uses the Sync Center. You might have heard of this before. This guy right here. And it basically syncs everything up. And because I use offline caching on my laptop, anything I save on my desktop into my documents, I just take my laptop with me, walk off, and it's on my computer because I use offline caching. So if I came in here and said always available offline, it would basically take everything that's in my server and also keep a local copy of it. So it will use more local disk space, but it's very cool technology to use. So I just kind of wanted to show off my cool geek stuff. That's kind of advanced stuff. I can show you guys how to do that later. But let's go back over to group nesting. And this is probably the final lesson for today, and then I'll let you guys ask questions. So if we look at some of my security groups, we have this group called, or is it Master Family Group? So my folder redirection is an example of something that I would put into the master family group. So instead of adding, like, let's take a look here. Let me just show you. So I have all these groups, and if you notice too, the same names for the security groups are the same names for the group policy. You always want to make sure they match. Map Y, map Y. Anyway, so you can see here that the members are my family, and this group policy is a member of other group policies. So as you can see here, let's see. If I add anyone to this master family group, they instantly get folder redirection fam, map the black and white laser printer I have, map the M drive for movies, map the picture drive for all our family pictures, map the W for wallpaper so they get access to my nice wallpapers, map the Y, share Y, and map share Z. Now these are other shares that we use in our family for business and stuff like that. So instead of adding each new person we hire to the company, because obviously this is my house, but in a real environment, it's going to be a company that you're managing. You're managing user accounts for people. All I have to do is add them to this master family group, and they get all these groups as well. Isn't that cool? So I don't have to sit there like an idiot and add like the new user to 10 groups. I add them to one group that is a member of all these other groups. That's called group nesting. Does anybody have any questions? So I'll let you guys ask some questions if you like. That's pretty much it for the lesson. That's group policy. You really can't understand group policy fully unless you work with it or play around with it fully. So I suggest, guys, if you guys are interested in learning group policy, make sure that you guys set it up in your home. Don't, excuse my language, but don't fuck around, guys. Don't mess around. If you want to learn group policy, go actually do it. It's kind of like, you can't learn how to fight by watching people fight. So make sure that you guys have it in your network. If you can find an old computer, doesn't have to be in RAID, just a little dual core with 2 gigs of RAM or something like that. I know money, it can be an issue, depending on your situation. But if you can, really try to get a virtual machine going or a physical server and join all your computers to the domain. Set this stuff up, guys. Make sure you guys understand it, because it's a very powerful skill. It's one of my best skills I have. How can we troubleshoot in this case? Are you talking about if a group policy? Are you talking about if a group policy is further down? Are you talking about enforcing? When you have policies that are, that's actually something I should have brought up too. Yeah, go ahead, speak.
Hey Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. Okay. Say for example, if you have a leaf object for a machine account, and if there's a GPO which is updated to it, and say that if that server is going to be decommissioned sooner, is there a way that say for example, if there's another admin who is not aware that there's a leaf object which is mapped to this, so in such cases, when we try to remove the GPO, and it fails to remove, so how do we troubleshoot in that case?
It fails to remove. Well, usually they don't fail to remove. What you'd basically do, group policy updates itself every 90 minutes. So and it also updates usually when you log on and log off, depending what it is. If you're having GPOs that are not applying, or you want to remove them, certain policies, if you're using policies versus preferences, preferences will actually remain there after you remove them. Policies will not. So if you update the policy and remove it, it should be gone. If it's not gone, you just want to run the gp update force command, and then it should update the policy on the local computer, and then it should no longer apply to that computer. If you have multiple computers that are under as child objects or leaf objects, or multiple users, it might be a good idea just to just to come in here and have a look. That's another reason why I like to kind of map things to the top level here, is because it can kind of get hard to come down and figure out where in your directory structure you've linked something. So that's why I like to just link it all at the top and then let everything be handled by security filtering. So everything here is handled in my domain pretty much by security filtering. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, if you're trying to troubleshoot like a leaf object or something like that, and and you're wondering why it's not taking a place or why it's still applying to it, sometimes you just have to go like if you're using a preference and you're using something that applied still after you remove the policy, the group policy, it might just be a good idea to just remove it physically. Like if it was a drive map, you might have to remove it physically, but generally speaking, it will update itself. So, does anybody else have any questions? There's one other thing actually I wanted to show you guys that you reminded me of, is enforcing a group policy. Never use enforce. You see this command enforce? A lot of people think enforce means enable. It does not. It does not mean enable. Link means enable. So if you enforce a GPO, the way it works is there's LSDOU is the order that it goes in. So it's like link site domain OU. So the group policies apply down like this, and they apply down through the structure here. Let me show you. So you can see here, this is the structure. They apply in a certain order. Let's think of it like this. If two policies say to do the opposite, let's say one tells you to map your wallpaper to a picture of, a girl in a bikini, and the other policy way down maps a picture of your favorite, restaurant or something. Whatever one is like farther down in the LSDOU chain will apply. Will take precedence. It will be the one that it listens to finally. So if you want it to not listen to the other group policy, like let's say if you have two that are overriding, you can choose to enforce one, and what that'll mean is that it is the master. It takes, even if two policies conflict, one says go left, one says go right, whatever one is enforced is the boss. It'll listen to that one. So that's another thing I forgot to tell you about. You can come in here and enforce your policies, but I don't recommend you use that unless you have to. But yeah, so that's the last thing I should probably show you. There's other things too, like starter GPOs that I didn't talk about, group policy modeling results. I can go over that in a future lesson, but essentially I'll just give you a rundown. Starter GPOs are like GPOs you can use to kind of pre-create GPO settings that you use again and again. You're probably not going to use them unless you're in a super big enterprise environment. The other thing to look at is the sites tab. Basically, what sites is this going to apply to if you have multiple sites in your domain structure or in your forest. Group policy modeling kind of gives you like a way to look at how your policies are going to apply. And results is kind of similar. It kind of gives you the results of your policies. Again, I'll go into this more in a future lesson, but that pretty much wraps it up for today. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. If you guys do have further questions about any of this, just feel free to write it on Sysadmin Syndicate. If you guys are unaware, I just want to do a little bit of advertising at the end here. You can feel free to leave if you don't care. I don't feel offended. Sysadmin Syndicate's my channel. Make sure you guys like it. This is where I post the links. Also, I have a good YouTube channel. If you guys are in Pakistan, I do understand that YouTube is blocked. I will be putting up something in a format that you guys can see. So definitely will be coming the ability to see it in different countries that might restrict YouTube, because I know because of the issues with religion and different stuff like that, and stuff that YouTube has done, that it's not allowed there. So we will be making that available. If you guys also want to subscribe to my channel, we're growing pretty rapidly. I want to get it really kind of famous. If you guys can share it with your friends, if you appreciate the training, I do appreciate it. you know, it is difficult to do this, but I really love teaching you guys. It's really fun for me. So even if I didn't get anything out of it, I'd still do it. I really like to see other people succeed. So if you guys can help me help others succeed, I think that's really helpful to the world. Thank you guys very much for stopping by. If you have any questions, suggestions, I always love hearing from you guys. We also have a website, guys, Sysadmin Syndicate. .com. It's a work in progress right now. We do have an SSL certificate for it. We're gonna start a forum soon. Virtual lab. Let's see if he fixed that. Oh no, he hasn't. YouTube gallery. We're also gonna be uploading another YouTube gallery that kind of, like I said, works on Vimeo or something that's not blocked in countries like Pakistan and stuff like that. But yeah, if you guys want to come in here, we have some volunteer positions too if you guys are interested. We're also going to be having a blog and a forum soon. So, you know, I really like where this is going. It's growing really fast. Currently, my Facebook page in the last 2 months is almost at 500. So 500 likes. So we're doing good, guys. We're starting to help each other, and you guys are all members of the syndicate. We're a team. So yeah, thank you guys very much for stopping by. Please let other people know about this if they need training, and we'll have our training next week. I don't know what day it'll be because right now I'm moving to Vancouver to pursue a new job, but always the links will be posted mostly in Sysadmin Syndicate. I don't want to keep posting in the other groups because we're starting to grow big, so I don't really want to kind of bother them. But yeah, but thank you guys so much for stopping by. I don't want to keep rambling. And I'll see you guys next week.